Good evening. You're listening live to the Xtreme Movie Show. I tonight am unfortunately your host, Rob. Bullet to the head, along with Pixel the Tank Engine and RDV Train, who I thought was RDV Wants to Die. But yeah, Rob, Pixel, and RDV discussing Bullet Train, the Brad Pitt and others movie that is not really actually doing too well at the box office here in late summer, early fall of 2022, at least stateside. And gentlemen, I got to say this.
That's a big cast.
Yeah, and the salaries for that, I'm sure, inflated the budget, which I hope they get their money back by selling the rights to Netflix or whatever else. Because I got to be honest, guys, never was a big hater of Keanu Reeves. Thought the John Wick movies are pretty stale. Action stuff's just, you get desensitized to it, and you can get that way with gore and all that. Let's just be honest with Bullet Train. By itself, the movie sucks. Is it entertaining and watchable? That's what we're going to discuss here tonight. To me, this was a tough slog to get through. It's boring. There's a lot of dead time in it, but it has a lot of things going for it that I want to like. Like, I want to see supposedly dangerous people wearing really nice suits. I absolutely love a movie that's shot on a train. But as we go around for our initial thoughts, I'll simply say this, and I'll pass it to you, RDV, because I want you to piggyback off that. When we talked about Train to Busan, very popular movie, not the biggest fan of it, but I thought it didn't take itself too seriously. At least that movie with Korean Chuck Norris did not feel forced, unlike Bullet Train, this current movie. So to me, when I saw Bullet Train, I guess my final thought was that, this is probably going to be like anything America does for that's Korean or overseas. They're going to Americanize it. For the most part, it's going to suck, because I wanted to see the original Japanese or Korean version of what this movie should have been, which doesn't exist, and I'm lamenting already. So what do you think of this, starting off here?
With me? It's better than killing them softly. This
it does not pass the Meg test, by the way.
This was a weird movie. And when I read up about it, apparently it was supposed to be a serious movie like Die Hard. But as they did production, they started making jokes and started lighthearting it, making it more into a comedy action. Which to me, I think ruined it because, only because the main cast, or as far as the lead person playing the main guy, is Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt's not a comedy guy.
Nope.
The last time he did comedy, he was at the end of Meet Joe Black, where he gets hit twice by two cars.
That was funny, though.
That was funny for that sake, because it was such a serious movie. You'd expect that. But it was weird because Ryan Reynolds, who's uncredited as the original Ladybug guy, he's Carver.
Carver, something like that.
This feels like this would have been a perfect movie for Ryan Reynolds to be the lead guy.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Because Brad Pitt, he's likable, he's handsome.
Serious movies, I like him in.
This movie.
Yeah, Uber Z, he's serious in that. It works for that. Put him in a comedy movie, that's not who Brad Pitt is. And sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. Pixel, what's your initial reaction on this movie?
I definitely feel it's entertaining. It's a lot of fun. It's
stupid fun, though.
The style of it. But you also just called Die Hard a completely serious movie when it has the line "Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker!" Come on.
But it wasn't. But it didn't have people going around and discussing politics or weird stuff.
Nobody discussed politics in this.
I'm just saying stupid stuff that has nothing to do with the movie.
Why
they call you Tangerine? Why are you called Lemon? Well, everybody loves lemon. Like, dude, come on. Let's get past it. The first 15 minutes of the movie, I was ready to quit.
Yeah.
Well, that's because you can't have fun. There is a lot to enjoy in this picture.
Pixel.
Characters are...
Listen, you said you were entertained and you had a lot of fun. That's great. Okay? Saying somebody can't have fun during a movie, I don't think is accurate, because we're the show that covers, like, Impulse by Shatner and all sorts of weird shit. We can find it when it's entertaining, and we can disagree on it. But the real question is what specifically did you find entertaining? Because that's what we can debate.
Sadly, it's just the things that y'all didn't enjoy, or RDB in this case, because I feel like those moments with Lemon and Tangerine when they were
like Lemon and Tangerine. Okay, so go with that.
Okay, I'm trying, but you're interrupting. So please, the characters themselves in their moments when what you just said well, why would I be called Lemon? And they go into that. Their chemistry is off the charts. They are fantastic, and I love the format behind each of the characters, digging into their background, as it were. And so when there's just so much energy in this film, I don't feel like it slows down at all. I feel like there's something for it in every minute. The only part about this movie that I truly had a hard time getting through was the end, because it's a CGI schlock fest.
Yeah.
And
we'll get to that, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned energy. I think that's one of the biggest. I think that's a good way of describing one of the biggest debatable themes of this movie, because it's a long movie. I wasn't expecting it to be about like 2 hours or whatever it is. I thought it'd just be 90 minutes. Now, I won't argue with you the point that I think Lemon and Tangerine had chemistry, whatever you want to call it. Okay, that's great, and that can be entertaining in and of itself. But you said energy. I'm just not feeling energy anywhere, even with the action scenes. I just feel like they're overdone. When you have a comedy movie and you try to throw in all that kind of action to it, it's not a good mix, and it certainly just didn't. It's like everything we've seen before with John Wick. I mean, you're numb to it. So when you say there was a lot of energy in the film, what do you mean specifically? Was it just the action? Was it something else? Because I'm like RDV, the first 15 minutes, I get introducing characters and showing us stuff, but it just felt so forced.
I mean, if you don't care for John Wick, I can see why you don't care for this movie.
I like John Wick, but John Wick was better than this.
Well, John Wick is also
miles better
more
than
serious.
Yes.
I mean, but when it comes to the mix between the comedy and the action of it, I enjoyed it. When he has that fight with the wolf who walks in and he's after the man that was supposed to be behind his wife's death, and they go ahead and he's trying to explain, like, what are you talking about, while going through the fight itself, and then he ends up getting stabbed. I don't know. I'm just telling you that I enjoyed the mix of that. So if you didn't, I can't explain to you why.
You know who would have been a better villain? Tommy Wiseau. The end.
No, God. Yeah. That then this would genuinely be a terrible film.
Well, it would actually make it a little bit entertaining then, because right now it's not that great. Now, yeah. I understand, I respect that you liked it, but I didn't care for it because it just felt out. Every time I saw Brad Pitt, he felt out of character, out of place. Ryan Reynolds should have been the lead guy, but it's like they couldn't get Ryan Reynolds, so like, let's get Brad Pitt. Let's try to make him funny now because his career's dying.
Yeah, there's something to be said for that, and I want to point this out too, because earlier in the year, or I actually think it was over the summer, RDV, you and I had covered Romancing the Stone, and we mentioned before how The Lost City earlier this year with Sandra Bullock, and it had kind of like a spiritual sort of succession to it, if you will, going back, almost 40 years back into the 80s, and while not exactly a shot-for-shot remake of it, when you look at the two movies, you go, yeah, it's clear, although one has Sandra Bullock, who's not bad, but the other one's got Kathleen Turner in it. So it's like night and day, unlike that movie. And one of the things that stuck out with me here is when you watch The Lost City, you're like, oh, they have uncredited kind of cameo appearances that, as long as you avoid social media, you'll go, okay, I like Channing Tatum kind of being a meathead in here, and he's a hunky guy in his own way. But then he kind of like falls in love with her, almost kind of sorta, and then Brad Pitt shows up and basically almost steals her away, and it's supposed to be funny, and then Brad Pitt gets his head blown off very violently in that movie, and you're like, okay, I guess that was kind of cute for like 2 seconds worth of shock value. But in this movie, we get something similar. So I guess the big meta joke between all three of them is that they're gonna do these little cameos in each and others movies to do little stuff like that, and so that's what you get. And I guess that's cool, but it's like they're trying to pop themselves rather than make a good movie. And whether the whole thing that was said at the beginning, they started trying to be a little bit serious, and then they went from that and said, "Hey, let's throw some comedy at it." And it felt like a big fuck you fest where they said, "Hey, we got a bunch of people here, our buddies. Let's just go make a damn movie and have a lot of fun and not really care about delivering what the product was going to be." And I think not being singular to either action or comedy, unlike John Wick, ruins it. So that's kind of Pixel where I kind of saw a little more with RDV in it. It feels forced.
It's not a bad movie, but it's not overly entertaining.
We watched. Did we talk about Red Notice? I feel like we did.
Red Notice felt much more entertaining than this, and
I disagree. That's where I disagree, because I feel like this genuinely has like when it comes to the action and the train setting itself, while it has that claustrophobic feel for most of it, but it's in a good way. Red Notice was all over the world, and oh look, we're in front of 15 green screens for most of this movie.
I felt like Ryan Reynolds in that GIF just saying "what the fuck" every time I saw a bad joke, or I realized, wow, this could have been so much better. The action is cool in here. I like the scenery. Yes, I do like the visual lights. You know, it takes place in Tokyo or on a train in Tokyo, even though you don't get to see much of Tokyo. It's mainly just a train and the train station. But overall, too many people in the cast. And just towards the end, it just felt like, oh, I want you all here so I could kill you all, or hope you guys will die. It's like, that's a Tommy Wiseau thing. We watched that. What was that movie called? With that remake, it was a Kickstarter movie. What was it called?
Remake of what movie?
Samurai Cop 2.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
That's what this felt like.
Yes.
It's you had so many people in here, people that really didn't really play a part other than just being like, hey, I'm here. Like I said, Ryan Reynolds would have been a better choice for this, because this felt like a Deadpool movie without Deadpool.
Well, I mean, it is from the director of Deadpool 2.
I know. But so I'm saying it's like Ryan Reynolds is really not even in this.
I can't help that you hate Brad Pitt. I can't help that.
No,
so
no, take it back. I like older Brad Pitt. I like his Brad Pitt movies he did. You know, I think it was in Legend of Fall. Wasn't he in that one? He's in. He's also in that.
Well, we talked about how he was coming along with Spy Game with Robert Redford.
Exactly.
Robert Redford at that stage in his career, when you're making the last cast on Spy Game, you're like, okay, Redford's in his 60s, he still has it, but being an icon that Robert Redford knows good and well enough, you know, I'm not going to be intimidated by Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt can benefit from me, but you see that it's mutual with both of them, and it's a very good film. And they elevate each other, whereas here, having all these people, nobody gets elevated. And what's the point in doing that? You know, it is cool, the train and the lights and the setting. It's beautiful, actually. It's kind of gorgeous in its own way. It's seductive that way. And we need more train movies, damn it. But for this, it's like, Brad Pitt, you're beautiful. You might have some talent. You've got something about you that people like. I don't know if it's charisma. It's more maybe Steve McQueen coolishness, I guess. But I don't know. He's very one note in here. Putting glasses on him and it's supposed to be kind of funny doesn't work. And I agree to the really sarcastic comment RDV made, because I think it's half true, where Brad's not going to probably be doing many more movies. And despite what personal issues he's been having, people still want to see him. And why do something like this? Put him in a friggin' rom-com. Give him an action-adventure vehicle, for God's sakes. But something like this, everybody's going to compare it to John Wick. And let's be honest. And John Wick, by far, is the superior film. And while the first movie's still decent and an interesting idea that goes along, it has its own sense of style. But let's be honest, you don't need to do John Wick 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, do it because it's going to make money. But this movie's just not doing that well, like I said, at the box office. And in today's world that's watered down with the CGI ending and all that, and the over-reliance on crap action, which is what this movie is, and the violence, too, wasn't really funny to me. They tried doing a lot of it thinking that in itself was going to be funny. It doesn't work. Yeah, so if you like the movie, it's great, but are you really going to want to rewatch this time and again? I just don't think so. I don't think it's that kind of movie.
So Sandra Bullock apparently joined because Lady Gaga had dropped out because she was filming The House of Gucci or whatever,
Gucci.
Yeah, whatever. It's a stupid name. I don't care how you pronounce it. And then, now this is interesting though, because it just shows you how fake Hollywood is. They constructed 3 trains, in Los Angeles, and they basically put LED screens hanging on this, and it showed Japanese countryside to make it look like they're in Japan, Tokyo, the entire time, but there it is in a soundstage.
Okay. I mean, but they were in a genuine like set.
Now let's say this: Pitt performed 95% of his own stunts in the film. That's barely, and he was apparently, Variety said Pitt was paid $20 million. As far as this movie being a box office flop, according to Wikipedia, it's saying that the box office currently is 173 million, where the budget was between 85 and 90 million. So it's not considered really a flop, but it's barely making back its money.
You know, in a time when movies, regardless of what's been going on with the pandemic here in America and around the world, we've known for a good 20 plus years that movies have been made and sanitized for the overseas markets, particularly China, definitely Europe. And I think that's where it's making a lot of its money, because it's kind of like we're making movies that they want to watch, and then they're trying to make movies that we want to watch. And you see this crossover, and it's kind of stupid in a way, because, you know, you guys are experts at making martial arts films, let's say, if you're in China or Japan or just over there in Asia, and we have our own kind of action films. But then, you know, we get so busy trying to do it where we're going to make a remake of Train to Busan. We're going to Americanize it. It's not going to be better than that first movie. It might look good. It might have some good actors in it, but I doubt it's going to be as, you know, going to have the same charm, if you will, as that movie. It'd just be like when the American version of TV shows like The Returned and other things are made from Europe. It just doesn't work, and it doesn't get any better. You know, the Let the Right One In vampire movies doesn't work, or it's just tough. And this movie is just a waste of 2 hours. So it's brain dead. I keep going back to. I'm not even going to talk about the end. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the thing that everyone talks about a lot here in Pixel, you mentioned this earlier, was Lemon and Tangerine. You know, I think the movie drags and it puts a lot of stuff into it that doesn't need to be there. I don't understand why people thought these two guys were cool and hip, because when you try to force something, that by itself is the opposite of cool and hip. Things are cool and hip, not because we say they are or whatever like that, because it just kind of takes on a life of its own. You can't force it. And I feel like those two guys with their dialogue and all that, regardless of their chemistry, are like one of the most forced things about this movie. Right. So you said you liked them. I wanted you to kind of talk a little bit about how you felt that was actually cool and hip.
I don't even hip. That's a.
Well, you're the one talking about how great they are out of us.
I said that they. No, I feel like they are. I feel like the two actors themselves were playing off of each other really well. I thought as a team, they definitely, they definitely worked for me, because while they have obviously elements of blundering things up because Brad Pitt steals their case, and then because they're checking on the case, their main objective dies. They still have that. I wish I could compare it to, but this, I suppose it makes sense. This guy also directed Hobbs and Shaw, so he has to deal with two people trying to work together and use their relationship to really push each other forward. When it comes to them, no, I'm not saying they're cool or hip or like they are suave James Bond types. No, they're not that, but they are enjoyable. I feel like most of the characters in here, they have a presence to them that just shines. I do. And I don't know.
To me, the word's silly. And I know you're not supposed to take the movie seriously, but part of me goes, if they just reduced down a lot of it and made it more serious, you know, it would have been an actual movie, whereas rather than just a goof fest, which is what it felt like to me. And that's one of the issues I had with it too. But despite it being a big budget movie with a lot of stars in there, which I kind of like the idea of that, we don't always get that. You mentioned the thing that you weren't the biggest fan of was the CGI stuff at the end. Tell me, in a world dominated by Marvel and DC type movies that have a lot of this in there, what was it about the CGI that you didn't like? Because I agree with you. And by nature, I'm not a fan of CGI most of the time.
When the train started crashing, it was clear that they ran out of budget, and then they had Sandra Bullock come in in the car, and it was clearly not real.
That was your Deadpool scene on the train after what's her name jumped off. Domino jumped off. He was stuck on the train.
Yeah, but that didn't look half as rough as this did, because you see Brad Pitt
I'm
moving
just
through
saying,
the train.
It just seemed like a recycled idea.
But I mean, at that point, it's forgivable for me, because I did enjoy the characters in the movie. The two serious ones that you had that were dealing with the comic relief of it.
I want to point out though, Tangerine and Lemon. I was trying to figure out who they remind me of, a badly ripped out version of. And I thought about it, and I kept thinking about, I'm like, then it hit me. Mr. Wint and Mr. Kidd.
Oh, yeah, we've been doing our James Bond reviews. We're due for The Spy Who Loved Me here pretty soon this month, Pixel, but we had just talked about Diamonds Forever with the openly gay homosexual assassin couple that made absolutely no sense in Diamonds Are Forever, other than to pop the writers and themselves for doing that was supposedly avant-garde or whatever you want to call it at the time. That did kind of feel that way a little bit. That's an interesting take.
I do not agree, but okay.
I'm not saying they felt they were pointless. They were needed in Diamonds Forever. They were just they were just idiots.
Well, yeah, but they weren't here because they are the ones that get the son, the case onto the train, and the case is pretty much your MacGuffin of the well, not a MacGuffin because you know what's in it, but you're what all of them are chasing throughout the movie.
Yeah. Well, I'll agree to disagree. I'm just saying they were just kind of pointless. Their conversation. Why you call yourself Lemon? Like, dude, you're called a freaking Orange. That was the worst code names you could ever use, and it just felt kind of forced. Like, just the humor, it wasn't one there. I would have had basically just had like Deadpool just pop out in there and just shoot both of them in the head and then randomly leave. It would have been a much.
That's because you've got a Ryan Reynolds hard on, but you've said.
Well, no, I'm just saying when you make a Ryan Reynolds movie without Ryan Reynolds, it's kind of dumb.
Yeah, and that does matter because casting can make or break it, and we all know that writing is not the strong suit, as well as CGI not being a strong suit of anything.
Why was it theaters? This should have been a Netflix movie.
That's what it feels like to me. It's so cringy at times where I'm going, really? And the way I would sum it up is this, it does not pass the Meg test, of course. But that being said, it's seductive, again, being on a train. I happen to like that. But other than that, this is a movie I laughed at, not laughed with. And that's unfortunate. It was really a waste of 2 hours for me. It was not very entertaining. It was a slog. And unfortunately, maybe I tried to give it a bit too much respect in that with as successful as Top Gun was starting off the summer, usually you would have an action film come out towards the end of the summer that would kind of make you go, oh, yeah, we're getting ready to the fall season. Then when things seem to change, and you usually close out with a brainless action film, and usually something kind of comes out as a surprise, kind of like the Bourne movies did in I think late July of those years. And this movie got hyped so much in the spring. The fact that they hyped it so much made me go, uh-oh, I think it's going to suck. Because the harder you try to hype it, the harder you try to tell everybody how good it is, it's not. And what the difference between that Top Gun, not in terms of movie, but in terms of the way people responded to it, is that Top Gun relied on a lot of word of mouth, and where people said, you know what, such and such liked it, I want to go see it. I've yet to see somebody that says, oh, that was a good film, you should go see it. They'd be like, a Bullet Train, ha.
I just want to say that I want to question this. Pixel, you like this movie so much, correct? Right? You really like this movie?
I liked it a lot.
Do you know this movie was actually accused of whitewashing actual Japanese
characters? Who the hell cares about that, Bankman? Come on.
There we go.
Well, let's go around for some final thoughts. I just gave mine there too. RDV, I feel like you and I are closer in the same boat, but anything else you'd like to point out about this film?
Like I said, it's if you like Brad Pitt, I guess, in a Deadpool movie, go for it. If you don't like Brad Pitt in a Ryan Reynolds movie, don't watch it.
Okay. Pixel, you're the one on the island tonight because you enjoy the movie, you're entertained, and that's cool. We all don't always agree, and that's what it's all about there too. But sell everybody on why they should go see this film.
I mean, I've already said there's a lot in this film. There's a solid cast, I feel, even with Brad Pitt in the lead role, which the last movie I saw him in the lead was World War Z, which was not good, no. But this, I feel like he does shine again for me. He's a lot of fun. A lot of them are a lot of fun. If you want to just enjoy yourself for a little while, this is a movie to put on.
I think we can all agree that this is a movie you're not supposed to take seriously, and if you go in there with that mindset, it's possible you could be entertained by it. So there you go.
I just want to point out that World War Z wasn't a flop like this movie. World War Z made over $540 million, where this movie was just a very, very low budget Netflix movie. So.
Well, we'll see what other people have to say about it too.
Hopefully, yeah.
That's a new
Leave
release.
comments down below if you hate this movie, or if you like the movie, or you just don't want to see it. Leave your thoughts.
It makes me want to suggest RDV on our Tuesday nights when we usually do 80s films and action films. We need to revisit the Wesley Snipes Money Train movie that's got some weird stuff in it, because that's a goofy ass train movie too. So
I want some Charlie.
Do some train ones. Yeah, there you go. All right, guys, for RDV, for Professor Pixel, the tank engine himself, I'm your host, Rob. Thanks for watching and listening here on the Extreme Movie Show. And, of course, thanks for letting everybody know about us there. If you got any particular requests coming up into the Halloween fall season, let us know. We'll be glad to take a look at those, too. And until next time, have a good night. And as always, stay extreme.
Good night, guys.